Hello, West Point Thoroughbreds Nation. Welcome to their latest of our informative podcast series. I think it's informative, at least. I'm Joe Bianca.
Self-proclaimed informative.
Exactly. I mean, what else do you need other than these two geniuses on the screen to be informative? I'm Joe Bianca. I'm an ownership advisor at West Point. And you know this guy to my left or right, depending on where you're looking at this from. Tom Bellhouse, Executive Vice President at West Point. What's up, Tom?
Joe, what do you know? It's I guess it's what, 8 days away. Let's go, man.
The excitement's ramping up for Saratoga. It's right around the corner. Del Mar will start soon after that. If you haven't seen the Summer Meets webinar, you can go check that out right after you finish watching this one, because today we're going to talk about the benefits of buying a yearling versus buying a 2-year-old. Now, Tom, Aaron, and I did another webinar earlier this year that went the other direction, talking about the benefits of buying a 2-year-old. Reminder that we have a live webinar for the partners featuring our whole team's insight on our yearling buying and development process coming up on Wednesday, July 31st at 3 Eastern, where the partners will be able to ask the team questions. And we're going to have a similar webinar for prospective partners earlier that day at 2 Eastern. Before I toss it to Tom and get into the meat of this discussion, let's quickly run down our yearling sales schedule. We may pick up a horse or two from some other sales in the fall, but the vast majority of our yearling pickups will come from one of the following 3 sales. We've got the Fasig-Tipton Saratoga sale, which is held August 5th and 6th at the Fasig-Tipton Sales Pavilion, just a hop, skip, and a jump from the track at the spa. It's a boutique nighttime sale, has an atmosphere unlike any other. We'll then return to that same location for the Fasig-Tipton New York Bred Sale, which is the following week, August 11th and 12th. And then we'll all head down to Lexington for the star-studded Marathon Keeneland September sale, which runs September 9th through the 21st. Before we get into the upside of buying 2-year-old or buying yearlings rather versus 2-year-olds, Tom, can you tell the audience a little bit about the Saratoga sale for anyone who hasn't been there, what the atmosphere is like?
It's just pure electricity, Joe. It is. I always joke that there'll be 3,000-4,000 people there, of which maybe 100 are buying horses. Everybody else is there for the party. The first night, especially, people dress nice. And you'll see everything. It's open to the public. You're not required to have tickets. The sales ground is electric, especially if the weather's good. That first night, there's just nothing like sale night. To sit in you can go inside the pavilion, but you have to have a ticket to sit in one of the seats that are reserved for buyers. But I mean, you can walk around, you can look at horses. You have an amazing bar in the back that is like a who's who of horse racing. There's some dining available. Upstairs of the Fasig-Tipton Pavilion, the Finney Pavilion, there's art that's on display for sale. There's a buyer's lounge that if you get lucky and are able to buy something, you can go have a little champagne. It's electric is the word for me, Joe. When you go to that sale, you never know who you're going to see there, as far as just titans of our industry or just titans of the entertainment industry. Whoever's at the sale, it's so much fun. And, hopefully you're buying the next horse that could change your life.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about it, too, is it comes on the heels of Whitney Weekend. And Whitney Weekend is one of the best weekends we have in racing all year. So there's already a lot of buzz around Saratoga for all the Grade 1 stakes that we're hopefully going to have a few horses running in as well. So, yeah, it really is just a great weekend into that Monday and Tuesday. There's nothing like it if you haven't done it before. I should also mention we're going to do our tour of the sale grounds the day before. I believe it's the day before, right, Tom, on Sunday?
Actually, Joe, it's the world famous tour of the sale grounds.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, our team, Jeff Lifson, David Ingordo, Erin Birkenauer. I think she's going to be in town coming back from maternity leave for that, as well as yourself, Jason Blewett, Terry Finley, Mike Shannon. All the members of the buying team are located up in Saratoga, and we put together what we call like a little confirmation clinic on Sunday morning, and it's open to all of our partners and their friends, and we get together and we break up into groups, and really get a breakdown of what we're looking for with these amazing animals. Now the select sale, the first one is usually about 200 to 250 horses. So it's really not a monster amount of horses that you're looking at, and we'll pick out a few of them that are on our short list, and we'll go over the pros and the cons of each animal and what we like and what we don't like. And it really has become an annual highlight to the summer. How many people? I think we had something like 40 people a couple of years ago, and last year we had just about maybe 40 or 50, and we had to break it up into groups. It was so exciting.
Oh, it's a great educational experience too. Get to learn, like Tom said, about what we're looking for and just about the yearling buying process. If you want to come to that, you should hit up Danielle at westpointtb.com, RSVP, let her know you're coming. So let's get into the yearling buying process and some of the upside, some of the benefits of buying a yearling. And one of those benefits is the upside. I mean, simply put, the pedigrees on offer at the yearling sales, particularly at the Facing Tipton Select sale and the Keeneland September sale, dwarf what you'll usually find at the 2-year-old sales, because by that point, when they already have a saddle on their back, you're just looking for athletes. So if you find a really good pedigree out there at Ocala, it's an anomaly. It's not an anomaly here. These are the horses you're trying to hit home runs on. Get a stallion prospect, get a Triple Crown horse, get a filly with some nice residual value if they can turn into a stakes performer. Tom, you've been doing this for a long time. I'm sure you've seen plenty of horses go through the yearling sale, some great pedigrees. What better example could there be for the kind of pedigrees on offer and this kind of superstars potentially on offer than Flightline?
You bring up a great point, Joe. I mean, Flightline was bought on day one of the Fasig Tipton Saratoga sale. It was, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was really just a amazing feeling. There was obviously there was a lot of buzz about him. He was in the Lanes End consignment across the street. But, let's look bigger picture before we dive into Flightline and a few others. Is you bring up a great point. We always say, and you've heard us say on the other webinar, there's 3 things that you're looking for in a horse that you buy at an auction. You're looking for A, the pedigree, B, the conformation, how they look, are all the right parts in all the right places, and C, the athleticism. Well, when you're at the yearling sale, you have to take out the athleticism because we've never seen them with a saddle on their back. We've never seen them with a rider and how they're moving. So you talk about projecting. You're looking at the pedigree, and at the Saratoga sales and the first book of Keeneland, it's just going to be nothing but great pedigrees. You're going to fall in love with the pages. I think last year was it Curlin Beholder was one of the horses, and I mean just amazing pedigrees. And then the confirmation. When we talk about Flightline, he was the total package. And I think if Flightline had sold on day 2 instead of day 1, he might have been the sale topper. Sometimes it takes a little while for these things to heat up, where the second day of that sale really got the prices went up. Actually, we bought First Captain on the second night of that sale. But when you look at that, we talked a lot and joked a lot that if a horse has that pedigree, that confirmation, and that athleticism at a 2-year-old sale, Sheikh Muhammad's going to buy it. Right. They don't really come to market so much. I think the only time I would say that a different thought process, Joe, was this year when we got Sandman, because it was a dispersal. Right. And a horse like Sandman appeared in that sale where you probably would have seen him if he was being sold privately. He would have been sold at a yearling sale with that pedigree. But so we were lucky to be able to put everyone together and be a part of that. That being said, horses like Flightline, horses like First Captain, we'll talk about Vava, we'll talk about Hard Not to Love, back in the day, Just Whistle Dixie. These type of horses, these pedigrees do not appear at the 2-year-old sales. And if they do, it's very, very rare. So you're really honing in, and you're playing the come, so to speak. I'm looking at this animal, which is about a year old, maybe 18 months old. Now, usually anywhere between a year and 18 months old. And I'm projecting what he's going to look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. And when you saw a horse like Flightline, who was just, for those of you who've seen the pictures over, he was just majestic. I mean, all the right parts, all the right places. Bred by Jane Lyon, one of the top breeders in America. The dam side was Feathered, who was a graded stakes horse, and it was a daughter of all the whole Phipps line, the old Phipps mares. So when we saw that, and David had been privy to that that horse for a while because it was raised by Lane's End, and they inspected it. But Terry just fell in love with the horse. And when you see that at these sales, when people fall in love with the horse, that's when the magic happens. Because all it do is, what's the old saying, Joe? It takes two to tango. You get two people on the same horse, it gets crazy. And you talked about fillies. A lot of people would say, you're chasing stallions, you could go broke in life. But if you get a good filly with a great pedigree and she can become a graded stakes winner, like Vava has become, like Just Whistle Dixie, we're talking now, a 7-figure horse that's by Gun Runner, is a grade winner, multiple graded stakes winner, be one of the favorites for the Ballerina and hopefully the Breeders' Cup. Those type of fillies you can buy at these sales, and you really, if you get one that scores, there can be some serious money down the line, Joe.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you make a great point too about the depth of the sale and the depth of the first book at Keeneland in September, because when you do have a great pedigree at the 2-year-old sales, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb and everyone's going to be rushing. But with these books, like, there just are naturally going to be some horses that quote unquote fall through the cracks. I mean, they'll still go for a lot of money, but not everyone's going to go for 7 figures like Flightline did. So there's a lot to choose from when it comes to the pedigree, and those books are just stacked with great pedigrees, and that gives you a chance at a lot of more residual value going the yearling route. There's another major plus of buying a yearling and is the ability, I think, for us to develop them at their own pace. So the sale 2-year-olds, if you're unfamiliar, they're cranked on pretty consistently starting in the fall to reach the point where they can breeze quickly when the spring rolls around. They got to be not quite race ready, but close to race ready in that they can breeze with a rider on their back. They can go fast. With the yearlings who enter our program in the late summer and the early fall, they can be brought along at a more quote unquote natural progression rate without putting any pressure on them to perform early in their 2-year-old season. We'll typically set the loose date for our yearlings is July, August, September of their 2-year-old year when we want to see them. And that's, what we've seen bear out, especially this year. We had a horse named Keep It Easy, who we bought as a yearling last year, who just broke his maiden at Churchill last week. With a 2-year-old, you're buying more of a finished product, which obviously has its benefit, and they can also obviously still develop. Buying a yearling, we've talked about this before, is more like having a lump of clay that you're able to mold. And you can expound on that, Tom, as well, but I also would like you to touch on our process and where we send the horses to develop.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of the yearling market, so to speak, it starts in July. We don't really play in that July sale. We really kind of focus in on Saratoga when all of our partners are coming to town. We hit the first sale, and then obviously the New York bred sale, which, you can get some real gems, but it's a different quality of pedigree. We don't kid anybody about that. I mean, you're not going to really see a lot of 7-figure horses coming into that New York bred sale. And as you go on into Keeneland, right in that second week of September, the first 2 books at Keeneland, what did they say, Joe? 5,000 horses total. So the first 2 books are probably, right in that 1,000 hips. And it's just amazing, the pedigrees you come. You look at, as the sale goes on, and this is to me where the real challenge comes, where the buying, the rubber hits the road with the guys who have the keen eye. I think of Decorated Invader being a late in the afternoon. They went all the way up the hill to a barn that was far away, and we were able to get him at a reasonable price. And you look at Kenny McPeak, what he's accomplished, buying some lower end buys late in the book at Keeneland with the beautiful filly he's got right now. I mean, these are all horses that, you can find everything you want at the yearling sale. It's just a matter of what your risk tolerance is. You know that if you're going to be buying in the, let's say, 20 to 40 to 50 range, it's going to be more of a crapshoot. And that's fine. I mean, that's what the game's all about. I had a great discussion with David and Gordo last year, and I mentioned it on a previous webinar, of when we're at the New York bred sales, where some of those prices will fall down into the 20 to 50,000 range, asking David, like, hey, why don't we take a shot on that? And he goes, sometimes you do, but sometimes, you know what? This horse has a few things that I'm not in love with. I'll pay the premium at a 2-year-old sale. I'll let the person who owns them develop them and let him grow. And if he grows into what everybody hopes, then I'll come back and look at him as a 2-year-old. And I know I'll pay a premium compared to what I could have had. But, there's a lot of horses at that price range. They can go either way. Mm-hmm. So, you'd mentioned some of the farms that we do business with that have helped develop these 2-year-olds. Flightline at the time went to the Mayberry farm, which is, world renowned. The Mayberry family, April, Summer, Brian Mayberry was the patriarch of the family. They were big out in California, and a lot of, I know Tanya Terranova came up through them. They were just great people. And now we're doing business for the most part. Our main 2 farms down in Ocala, and have been for decades, is, Eddie Woods, his wife Angela, and their team. I always joke, when you go there, it feels like you're in horse heaven. It's just an amazing place to develop young horses. And you look at, Doc Eisenman's place also. I mean, you're looking at teams of people, of professionals who've been doing this a long time. And, loyalty in business is important, but what's really important is being with people who know what they're doing. And, I learned early on in the game that this element of our business, of our industry, you need to be with the people who are doing well, because they pay the most and they get the best help. And all you need is one horse to go out on a day it probably shouldn't go out. It wasn't feeling good, or it had a little bump, and the person caring for him missed it. And then you get a small injury and it sets you back 3 months, 6 months. So having the 2 guys, in our opinion, that are at the top of the game, Doc Eisenman, Eddie Woods, their teams, we go to Eddie's. There's a reason you see the same people there every year, year after year. And when you walk the shed row and you look at who owns the names, and it's the who's who of our business. It's the Farishes, it's the Sheikh Mohammeds, it's the Coolmores. I mean, there's a reason they go to the same people we do. Also, we, on a more regional note, all the Clement babies, the New York breds, have gone to Kinsman, George Steinbrenner's old farm. Emily does a phenomenal job there. They're wonderful. It's a little more private, a little quieter. Out in California, we have Legacy Ranch. You're talking all-star horsemen that are helping our horses mature and grow. And, we're really looking, as we go to the 2-year-old sales even, we're looking for those consigners who we have relationships. And especially, you'll see us buy horses from Eddie Woods. And back in the day, Doc doesn't sell anymore, but Doc Eisman, we would buy from them because we know their programs are so strong going forward. So, it gives you that peace of mind when you put a yearling in their hands that, they can be what we hope. I always used to say, Joe, your biggest fear in horse racing is having the horse you dream of, but not having the person to get them to the promised land. And in this case, the people we're sending these babies to, these yearlings, are the right people to get us to the promised land. And we have the results to prove it.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a lot of times when I tell partners or prospective partners, like, there's no guarantees in this game, but you put the right people in the right positions with the horses, more times than not, you're going to come out ahead in terms of getting your horse to the track and having them be successful. And the people you mentioned are the best in the business. And we're very lucky to have them take care of our horses as they grow from yearlings to 2-year-olds, because, they're with them every single day. It's really important to have, when you have a young developing horse, have someone who has that expert eye to be able to keep tabs on them, notice any minute changes, as you're saying, Tom, and to be able to do right by the horse and right by the clients. And I have no doubt that the people that we employ, especially down in Ocala, are able to do that and have been doing it for years. Those are some of the main takeaways. There's other more nuanced discussions to get into, but I do think the pedigree angle and the ability to develop your horses at your own speed are 2 of the major benefits of buying into a yearling. And then as they turn into 2-year-olds, seeing them sprout and become the horses you want them to be. Tom, any other thoughts, any finishing thoughts as we head up to our first yearling sale and with Saratoga right around the corner?
Well, I think the one thing I'll leave some of the partners with is New York has announced that in the winter, they're going to make a move to synthetic racing in a couple of years at the advent of the new Belmont Park, which will be a year-round facility. To me, that is exciting news, because there's some terrific grass pedigrees that over the years you kind of shy away that, if they're New York breds or if they're New York horses, they'll have to go to Florida. The thought of having some of those pedigrees, we bought a couple Kittens Joys and horses that are maybe not super commercial, but just produce runners. I mean, David used to always say, give me an English channel every day. They run. And so this is an exciting time, I think, for the New York bred breeding industry to really have an opportunity that we're not going to be afraid to buy some horses that maybe have a little more of a grass pedigree. So that's exciting from a regional standpoint. But I just look at coming into this year and the appetite our partners have expressed towards yearlings and seeing some of the home runs. It's one thing to go to these sales and say, well, you can maybe hit the home run. Well, we've had the home runs.
Right.
We've had Flightline. We've had First Captain. We've had Ring Weekend. We've had Freedom Child. Hard Not to Love, Just Whistle Dixie, and now your favorite and mine, Vava. So, I mean, it's a good time to be selling yearlings.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, she's the queen right now, and she was 280 at Keeneland September. So you don't have to spend 7 figures to get a really nice horse out of those sales with a really nice pedigree. So appreciate all the partners tuning in. We hope to see you up at Saratoga for both of those sales, and then at Keeneland September. And Tom, thanks for joining me, and thanks for the time, bud.
Always a pleasure, Joe. See you soon.
All right.